Welcome. I'm here with Gill Tiney, the founder of Collaboration Global. She's a podcast host. She's a TEDx speaker, which is fantastic. You have to watch your TEDx speech. I'm really excited to be here with Jill because Jill is a deep expert in collaboration. I'm, has spent her entire entrepreneurial career at the very least, focused on partnerships and collaboration. And Collaboration Global is such a model, right, for us, but a global model for really understanding how we can center collaboration um, as humans, right? Not just in entrepreneurship, but in our lives. So I'm really thrilled to have Jill here. I'm excited for her to share, what she's learned and what she sees as possible, um, both in entrepreneurship, but for us collectively as humans here on this planet. Um, when we can really truly embrace collaboration and love as that connecting point um, for us together. So welcome. I'm thrilled you're here. Um, will you give a little bit of an introduction to everybody about what Collaboration Global is and why you believe collaboration right now is so crucial and how we can um, approach not just what we see as possible through collaboration, but how you think we can get there?
Hmm. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. The TEDx is me having a rant, by the way. So if you enjoy people
They're the best ones.
getting on their soapbox, that would be me. And I've enjoyed writing a couple of books about collaboration as well. In that, one is why we should collaborate, and the other one is how to do it, the doing of it. So Collaboration Global started just after the pandemic, but there was a precursor to that. Collaboration Global was an online community, but we used to have an offline community as well, which had a different brand at that point. And I didn't think that the way the community were growing face to face, we were in the home counties, up in Liverpool, across to Devon and places in the UK. I didn't think we'd be able to do it online. But it turns out that online has brought people from around the world together to understand each other. So what I love is that everyone's got a different experience, so much because of where they've been brought up, where they happen to be living now, their entrepreneurial journey, wherever it is, has been coloured in by their past, and they bring this gold, this knowledge into the online community so that we can come together and go, well, you've got all this experience, help me with this bit and help me with that bit. So everybody is very generous with their genius. Now, for us, collaboration is about love and connection and abundance, and that sounds very wishy-washy, doesn't it? I mean, but what's happened in the past, if you look at society since money was invented, probably, collaboration has all been about what's in it for you and what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And it's been very cutthroat. We're not going to talk about that person because then they didn't contribute enough, so they can't have anything. And you can have this bit, but you can't take my clients, or you can't take my IP, and it's all very mine and yours. And then, of course, the lawyers have got rich out of all of this because we think we have to protect ourselves. What if we didn't?
And you spent years coaching in partnerships.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And a lot of the partnerships that I've been part of, we've had nothing written down.
I
know.
I'm guilty of that. It's never in my nature to say, let's make sure that we have a written agreement.
Now, I'm not saying if you, I'm not telling anybody to do that, because Jill said you don't need a written agreement, but I take it on board myself, that because I think if I had a written agreement and somebody did the dirty on me, am I really prepared to take them to court over it? Obviously, if there's huge amounts of money involved, that's a different story. But I love the story with the guy who owned Walmart, Warren Buffett, right? Warren Buffett.
No.
Warren Buffett and the guy who owned Walmart did a deal.
Okay, I see.
Sorry, I'm getting
Yeah,
there in
yeah,
the end. I'll get there.
yeah. Gotcha.
And it was a massive millions and millions of dollars of revenue. And the lawyers were like, oh, this is going to be a good year's worth of work here that we're going to get. And they did it on a handshake, and everything was signed within a week, apparently. So the story goes. And that's because trust was there.
Hmm.
And when you have trust with somebody, yes, you can fall foul. But if you know who you are as a genuine self, you get to know other people at a much deeper level, much,
You
much
do.
faster. So you don't always need the piece of paper,
Yeah.
because you can work out ways along the way where
Yep.
everyone's going to come out winning. And that's
Yeah.
always,
And the paper, the legal agreement, the whatever, you know, is, you know, may help, but it's really about, that trust and then expectations and roles, right? Having clarity around how you're coming together and where you're contributing and how things may work after you kind of understand, like, hey, we have trust in this. We have a shared vision for this, right? Um, the rest of it is in, I think, more in the details of having clarity, right, around how you're coming together. I think
yeah,
so much of it falls apart there. And where we lose
absolutely.
so much trust isn't in that, they ended up being a horrible human, right? And this didn't work out. I didn't know them and this didn't work out. I think so much of it is really in the skill of gaining that clarity together of, I'm really amazing at this part, you're really amazing at that part. Here's how it's going to come together, and here's where I own this and this part. And when I say own, I just mean like I have personal ownership of how
Yeah.
this gets done, and you have personal ownership of how that gets done. And so much of it breaks down when we don't get to
Have those
that kind of clarity.
conversations. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a
So
skill.
what we recommend at the beginning of any collaboration is rules of the game.
Hmm.
And I have stolen this quite openly with Sam Allende, who wrote the Pirate. Is it the Pirate Code? I'm looking at my bookshelf, see if I can find it. I think it's the Pirate Code. No. Anyway, it's a big pink book, and it's about pirates. And he
Uh-huh.
talks about all the history. Oh, it's terrible, isn't it? I can't remember. Menopause mind. He talks about all the history of pirates and how they have helped governments evolve because they had the first same-sex weddings, marriages. They had the same, they were the ones that invented insurance when ships went out into the high seas.
Really?
They sat down before every trip and wrote the pirate code for that trip, which meant that if somebody was in battle and they lost an arm, they'd get this much money. And so there was always compensation, and everything was written down so that everyone was very understanding, and no one on a pirate ship was in charge.
So no
History tells
hierarchy.
no hierarchy. And you might think it was the captain or the first mate, but no, everybody has to agree to the pirate code. And then they put their mark on it to say that they agree to how it's going to work. And most pirates did not want to go marauding. They were hoping that the other ship would be surrendering. They didn't want to go and do it. And quite often that's what happened. And did you know, just the by the by, the most successful pirate in the world ever had a fleet of hundreds of ships across the world, and she was a woman.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we take the pirate code, and beginning of every collaboration, you sit down and you ask the difficult questions. So
Yeah.
much easier to ask the difficult questions before stress and deadlines and all the other stuff that goes on in a collaboration that could happen. So simple things like, Melissa, when you're under stress, what triggers you? What is that thing that's going to be the straw that broke the camel's back? What's going to
Yeah.
tip you over the edge? What
Yeah.
do you really, what's going to get you? So I don't know if you've got anything off the top of your head that you would think of, but
Oh,
for me,
me?
hmm?
Yeah, I'd have to think. I mean, what's yours? You said you had yours
Well,
ready.
yeah. As an example, if I'm sitting in a meeting and it's quite an important meeting, and I clock out the corner of my eye somebody on their phone,
Mm.
and they might go, I'm just sending a tweet about what we're talking about. I don't care. Put your phone down and talk
Yeah.
to me. And that is the thing that will make me go off. And
Yep.
if somebody else in the room has said, right, the thing that triggers me is if I'm there ready for a meeting to start and somebody walks in 3 minutes late, even 2 minutes late, even 1 minute late,
Hmm.
so that will send me over the edge.
What I
If
love about that is these are real, tangible things, right? So even when we talk about values and we talk about like personal accountability, right? And I detail what personal accountability may mean to me. And, and I know what it means in tangible terms, but you
Mhm.
say personal responsibility is insanely important to me too.
Yep,
But it may be a very different representation of personal accountability. Timeliness may not really pop into that for you. You may think, well, I've got a lot of stuff going on and I'm late occasionally. And I'm just my clock is off. I'm just a person with a clock off. There are a lot of
yep,
people like that.
yep.
Like I
It's
have an
true.
aunt. We tell her the time that we're getting together is always 20 minutes. Like we adjust the timing for her. Her intentions are pure, but
Yep.
she cannot arrive on time to save her life,
No.
right? So those really specific things are incredibly helpful because you can understand shared values,
Yep.
but they may not translate into these really specific things that just
Yeah.
tip you off, right?
And well, the thing is as well, if somebody did turn up late and it's the third time it's happened and timing isn't that important to them, like your aunt, if it's not been said before and that somebody will go, actually, look, you're late again. That's really annoying. It's like, oh, for goodness sake. And they'll dismiss that person.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, it's all this resentment and these problems are going to be building up because like, oh,
Yeah.
if you've
All
said
this
it
little
before,
stuff
it's accountability and it's integrity and all the values that you would probably have said at the beginning, but in real world terms.
in real specific terms, right? In real specific terms.
Yeah.
So this leads me to something that I know we want to talk about.
Hmm.
And um and I think that there's a lot of real world evidence that humans experience, right? Especially in entrepreneurship, right?
Hmm.
Because we're off on our own and we're out in this big ecosystem. It is an ecosystem, but it's very disjointed, I think, in solo entrepreneurship, when we're not looking at collaboration specifically, right?
Yeah.
When we're looking at a competitive landscape,
Yeah.
when we have that mindset of, I'm out in business, I've got to map my competitive landscape, I got to know who my competitors are, right? And we learn on a daily basis because we don't have these skills and we don't, set these specific expectations and we don't have the mindset of, I'm looking at collaborators, right? What do you think is going to get us from living in that scarcity mindset, right? Of being trained into it. Because I
Mm.
don't necessarily think that our inherent nature is to go at it alone. I
No.
think our inherent nature is to do it together. We want it. We want to work together. We don't really like doing it alone. There's very few people who really, really enjoy building it alone,
Yeah.
right? It's very lonely. It doesn't work as well. It can't create what we want to create, especially if we have a big vision. You can't, most people can't do it on their own. Most people don't want to do it on their own. And I think our nature is to come together. So what do you think keeps us from moving from where we are,
Hmm.
right, into, I think what you kind of called into that abundance,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Of approaching it from love and collaboration and
it's
building
weird.
together.
It's weird, isn't it? Where people are just not used to that. Although, as you say, it's in our DNA. There is scientific evidence now that says that the people that survived are not the tallest and the biggest and the ones that went after all the animals and could catch them because they were so strong. It was the ones that cooperated and worked together to bring the food in on a regular basis.
100%.
So we have just been indoctrinated over all the years to fear our competition.
Yep.
Look at 20 years ago or more, when I was training how to be a business coach, I was sitting there thinking, I wish that woman who's training me how to be a business coach would come and sit here and I'll take the class because she doesn't know what she's talking about. Because she's telling us about SWOT analysis. And we don't
Yep.
have to worry about the competition if we know who we are because people don't buy stuff, they buy from people.
Yes.
So
There's so little competition. There's
there's
so,
no, there is no
or
competition.
none, right?
Just forget it. forget
Yep.
it. It's just what we've been told. There's other people doing the same stuff as we do, but they don't do it quite the same way that we do.
No, it
So
can't.
whatever it
They're
is, if
for
you're
different
selling,
people, for different points in the journey. There's a gazillion variations of who we're for and what we do and exactly.
exactly. And I think the minute you allow yourself to go, this is me, this is who I am. And even if the person next to you is doing exactly the same and you look and you can't find any differentiation between you and that person, don't worry, embrace it. Why don't you see if you want to work together? Actually be bigger because they're going to have a database, you're going to have a database. If they
And they
haven't sold
probably
to their
love doing different things than you love doing.
exactly. And quite often their database might not have bought from them, but they might buy from you and vice versa. So why would you not share? It
Yeah.
just makes sense to be able to do that. And once you get in the idea that you're one person and there are how many billion people on the planet that you can sell to, why would you be worried about that person there that says they do exactly the same as you do? I would get closer to them. I
Right.
was in a networking meeting once and one guy came up to me and, see that guy over there? I went, yeah, yeah, yeah. He's a business coach like you, but don't worry, I'll protect you.
I'd be
Excuse
like, no,
me.
I want to meet them. That
I,
sounds
I did,
exciting.
and I did, and I went over and we had a chat and we get on so
Yeah.
well. And within the space of 2 months, we were business partners
Yep.
because
We ran a lab. Yeah, within 2 months. Is that what you said? You were
yeah,
business partners? Yeah, I
yeah,
love that. In a lab that we ran not that long ago, we at the end we challenged our lab participants to reach out to somebody in their network that they thought was as close as possible to a competitor for them,
love it.
and to reach out to them to see how they could collaborate.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And I don't know, I have to follow up to see if anyone did it.
I very much doubt it because they would have been nervous and but the potential for huge collaborations. And then once you identify that, well, I do that, but I do it in a different way to you, and you do that, and then neither of us like doing that bit. Oh, let's get someone in to do that bit. And all of a sudden, you've got a bigger operation. Firstly, your clients get you at your best. It's not you pretending to know what you're doing. You're actually
Yeah.
at your best doing your thing and you're genius.
Yeah.
But then you get more time because you're not doing the stuff you don't like doing. And you've got other people that you can sell to because this other person that's going to collaborate with you, the other one that's always a three, magic number, the three of you have got a bigger database to work to. And
Yeah.
then you can create your marketing and everyone's got a different way of marketing so you can tweak it and change it. It's more fun. There's a book
Hmm.
out there called The Click by Ron and Ori Braffman. And they're two scientists and they did a scientific study on why people click. This chemistry, you meet someone, they're a stranger and you feel like you've known them forever and they
Yep.
just click and you get on. This can be orchestrated. It's scientifically proven you can orchestrate
Oh,
that
we've got
click.
to read that one.
And
We spend
once,
a lot of time trying to understand
oh,
alignment and partnerships and how to identify
yeah,
potential aligned partners. I mean, and then there's identifying collaborative opportunities, which I think is a big challenge.
yes.
Um, but but yeah, who is an aligned partner for you? And how do you approach that?
Yeah,
It's something
okay.
that we're really studying.
It's brilliant. Well, once somebody clicks, what the beauty of that is not only do that, so one science experiment they did was three people that clicked and three people that didn't click. These ones had all the experience and the qualifications, and they were given a time limit and they were given a project. Same project to the ones that did click. I had the same experience, same qualifications, and the same project. Not only did the ones that click do the what was needed, the project above and beyond that, as in they hit it before target, they got finished and were done, they loved it, but they went above and beyond because they were having so much fun.
Yeah.
They just wanted to carry on and do more and find out more. So the others were like, yep, we did the job. And they're like, well, these guys have gone doubled what you were doing. And it's because so when you can orchestrate a click, it's magic. How you find those aligned collaborators, I think there's no such thing as coincidence. I think for me, I'm always looking not just at the person in front of me, but who's next to them and behind them and
Hmm.
around them. So it's finding out who you're connected to and what magic that might make. So you've got to be a little bit strategic about it. And quite often what I find, because people are worried about competition and they are worried about there's not enough to go around, they kind of shield themselves and don't consider collaboration because it's like, oh no, because they might take my IP. I've spent years trying to get that IP sorted out, and oh, they might want my database, and that I can't give them my database. No, of course you can't. But if you just forget those bits for a minute and think about what do they do that's magic? Can you see their face light up when they're passionate and they're talking about what they do? And is it something you're impressed by? It's like, wow, that's really interesting. And are they impressed by you? And then what's the bit that's missing? There will always be a bit missing because you want that third person.
Yep.
And when that comes in and that third person comes in, you're chatting away and it's like, and there's this and there's this. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, this sounds really interesting. And you're like, you've got the buzz, you've got the warm and fuzzy feeling, and
Yeah, the
that
buzz.
is your key to let's give it a go. And you can start small. You can just go, well, let's do a small project, or let's just do something for
Yep.
a month, or let's just do a one-off little workshop, see how we go. You don't have to be full in all the time. The other thing about coming together to work is rather than find out after the event that nobody bothered to sell what you were offering, and I have been in that position, you allocate responsibilities within your collaboration, whether that's 3 people or 30
Yep.
people or whatever. Everyone has a responsibility, not necessarily what you're good at. So one person can have the responsibility for sales, and they might not be a born salesman, salesperson, but it's their responsibility to make sure the sales are going to happen. So they have to then look at everybody in the team and go, right, who's going to put the hand up? Right, you are. So I'm going to be on you, and
Yep.
we're going to have a meeting. We're going to check, and I'm responsible, but you're going to do the doing. And
Yep.
it's the same for the finance. It's the same for the tech. It's the same for the
Yep.
project. It's the same for the people. You need
Yeah,
a
that's the
nurture.
ownership of that area of delivering on whatever you're, yes, coming together on. It's so crucial.
And technically, we've worked out there's about 12 minimum responsibilities. So
Oh, okay.
if there's only 3 in the team, you're going to have a few each.
Yep.
And it might be that somebody that is rubbish at finance puts their hand up and goes, can I do the finance? Because they want to learn about it. And that's great, because you know what? They're probably going to be 10 times better because they'll be so concentrated on learning and doing the right thing that they will take it on beautifully, or the same for sales, or whatever it is. But generally, the people that are good at what they do, oh, I'm sales, I'll be responsible for that. But they'll take it on and they might be doing it as well.
Yep.
But the responsibility doesn't lie in the land of the person that's good at. They just take the responsibility to ensure the job gets done. We had about a dozen coaches put on an amazing workshop that should have gone on for several other workshops, but because nobody took the responsibility to sell the damn thing, it all just fizzled like a damp squib. And I'm not going to remind everybody that I was the only girlie in the room. I'm just going to leave that over there. I'm just going to put a pin in it over there. Yes, I am sexist. All right, I admit it, but I've had a lot of experience.
Well, a lot of experience with, okay, how is this job really going to get done? You know, it's not just the royal we,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Especially when
Because
they
what happens, we know as women, when that happens, we as women
pull our sleeves up and get on with it.
pull our sleeves and get up.
Generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when no roles are defined, right, and it's not your area, especially when it's not your area of expertise, you don't, it doesn't get done. And then that's, you know, and I think that's probably the more likely scenario.
Yeah.
You know, if you assume everybody coming in has the intention of getting it off the ground, then we're
Yeah.
only doing the stuff that we're get energized by and feel confident in doing and whatever. And so all the other spaces, because like you said, there's all these other spaces, all these other areas that still
Mhm.
need attention for the
Yeah.
project to move, for the
Yeah.
project to be successful, to gain some traction, right? To be out there in the world, and they can't be ignored.
Exactly.
And they do get ignored when you're not intentional about taking ownership and dividing that ownership instead of ignoring it, which is
Mm.
so easy to do.
And that's part of the conversation that you have at the very beginning, the
Yeah.
rules of the game. And if those rules aren't talked about and responsibilities taken on
Yep.
board, the cracks will show. It's very difficult to conclude a successful collaboration when there are
Yeah.
those cracks that are coming through.
Yeah, yeah, that's really so we're running a sprint or running a ecosystem mapping pilot and it's embedded into a sprint, but Tracy's creating a charter, right, just for this, for these experiments, right?
Brilliant. Yeah.
And so I'm gonna have to have her listen to this episode, but also for us to read the click. And I mean, I have like pages of notes from the conversation that you and I had before we even jumped on here.
Yeah.
Um, you have so much to share. I feel like we could do probably like a whole series of interviews, right? Just with
Yeah.
you. Um,
Oh, it is a big subject. That's the problem. It is a big topic. And
it is a big topic and we can get like really tangible and we can go really high level. You know, you were talking to me about spiral dynamics, and that's incredibly fascinating. And I don't know if you have a few minutes. I know, we're kind of at time for our interview, but I don't know if you have a few minutes or if we just want the audience to take a look at that. You mentioned we're in the teal period of spiral
mm,
dynamics.
mm,
And that's not a brief topic, but I find it
mm.
incredibly fascinating, that the study of how we interact as human beings and our evolution
Yeah.
together, right? We're in
Yeah.
a space where we're feeling it.
Yes. And it has come to that time where what was before is just not fit for purpose now. And the internet is part of that. The social media, everything else that's going on is building the cracks where we, as you can see today, I mean, we are in March 2026 and World War III has started. And there's no getting away from it. We've got to find another way to function because the way of ruling and government just isn't working. And if you remember that 95%, 98%, 99% of the population just want to live in peace and get on with their lives. And they don't care where this line is, that's your country and this is my country. They just want to know who their neighbors are and
Yeah.
have a lovely time.
And we want to contribute and we want to feel fulfilled and we want to feel love and belonging and community.
Yeah. And where over history we've gone from um, the survival space through the religious space, the Lord of the Manor, we all looked up to. There were rules and regulations, and we can't break the law, and all of these kind of things. And that can still be there, the rules and regulations. But as in Collaboration Global, I don't make the rules up. The community, we come together and we say, well, what's our mindset around collaboration? Well, there are these areas. What about our behaviors? Well, there are these areas, and we discuss
Mhm.
them. It's
I
it's
love that.
it's organic. It's a movable feast that there is no right or wrong, remember? So just because Jill says doesn't mean to say it's like, oh, Jill, that's not going to work. Oh, okay. What do we need
Well,
to do?
bring us
Let's
back
bring
into
it
that
forward.
because I think that's something that you mentioned before we went into our interview, right?
Yeah,
That what if there was no right or wrong?
yeah. And that's a different way for people to look at it. We say there's the outside world, fear, scarcity, and competition, and there's our world, love, connection, and abundance. And it's putting on that jacket of, well, what would that
Mm,
look like? What does that feel like? How are we going to operate in that
right.
space? So
Yep.
when we have that sense that there is no right or wrong, it's like, well, why are we arguing about politics? Because you could be right, I could be right. Can we both be right? Well, let's agree to disagree because there might be some information you don't know, and there might be some information I
Mhm.
don't know. We
Well, and explore it through that lens.
exactly,
Just exploring
exactly.
it, just having the agreement that we agree there is no right or wrong, and we can explore through that lens. Um, and I'm impressed that those in your community can really either put that jacket on or take that jacket off, whatever,
Don't get me
analogy you
wrong,
like, but
it's not perfect, all right? We're human beings, so we muck up.
yeah,
But we've got a place to practice, and
a
we've got a
place to
place
practice,
to fall down and go,
a
oops, I
safe
made a
place to
mistake.
practice.
Exactly, and a place to come back and go, oh, sorry, I know I said that.
Yeah.
You
But
know,
we
so
really do value the same things. So come back
yeah,
at it again.
yeah.
Hmm.
And that's what's interesting is that people join us and they go, oh, it's amazing, it's lovely, it's fantastic, it's brilliant, and then they're gone. You're like, well, they didn't. They seem to know what happened, and then you find out later that they couldn't live up to the expectations of being a human being with those expectations on them. And you maybe find out that they they took somebody's IP, or they were nasty to somebody, or they had a
Yep.
disagreement and they couldn't be grown up enough about it to kind of
Yeah.
sort it out. They were gossiping about someone and somebody caught them at it and said, we don't do that here. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and they just were like, rather than stand there and go, oh, I made a mistake, and then we sort it out, which some people do, which is great, they
Yeah.
just disappear. And it's like,
Yep.
whoa, what are you missing out on? Just
Yeah.
because your ego won't let you stay and say, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake. And we all
Yeah.
make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We all do it.
I just talked to someone who's in a startup community and really loved the idea of a community coming together with the shared intention of collaboration, right? Deeper
Mhm.
levels of collaboration. Yes, there's exchange-based collaboration, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
It's an amazing starting point, right? But exploring, like having that true shared intention. And he said, "How are you going to um, screen people coming into the community?" And I looked at him and I didn't have an answer, but my gut was, we're not going to. And I don't, and whether that's right or wrong, but my gut tells me it's a place, it's a safe place to experiment with it, to play with it, to be in community with it. And if we do our job in collaborative community,
Hmm.
it will get filtered out. If,
Yes.
or even better, they will understand and see a better way to be in collaborative community. Will recognize that, hey, that's not how we do it here, right?
Yeah.
It's building that culture, that coming together that creates a culture that filters out and changes the mutation that come,
Yeah.
I don't know that,
Because
but
if
there's
you're trying to come away from that place of hierarchy, of right or wrong, of control and what's the command and control, that's not where people flourish. That's where
right.
you're squashing their creativity. You're
Yeah,
taking curiosity away from them. You're not allowing them to fail or muck up or do something wrong.
right.
So if you're going, oh no, you've got to tick these boxes before you can come into our gang,
Yeah,
it's,
right.
it's
Yeah,
not going to
yeah,
work. So
yep,
this is the culture. This is what we would love you to live up to. And if you can't, then come and talk to us and we'll see what we can do. Let's help you to.
yeah,
But a lot of people come, not a lot. I would say probably of the people that have joined, I would say a handful have disappeared because, well, they didn't even have the conversation of why.
yeah, yeah.
You
And sometimes
find,
who knows why they've left, right? Some people, there's a hierarchy of needs.
yes.
And and when we're operating um, in survival mode, sometimes it's not possible to approach the world from that place.
Mm,
And so what happens is in a collaborative community, right, our job is still to support them, right?
yeah,
Our job is more than ever is to support them.
yeah.
And when we're building community, um, that can do that can be in that space and can invest in that and can experiment and can elevate our skills as collaborators, right? It will elevate that space eventually for everybody. Um,
Mm.
and so if we're in a space that we can do it, I believe um, we have some responsibility to do that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
For the collective, right?
yeah,
Because so you had a quote, I believe, from Margaret Mead
yeah. Never
that
doubt.
yes, just give us that quote.
Never doubt. Um, that a small community can change the world. Indeed, never doubt that. Oh, I've lost my
Oh, I
plot
put you
now.
on the spot.
Never doubt that small community can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has.
Yes,
Never doubt that a group of committed citizens, that's it.
that's
Never
right. Yes.
doubt that a group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And another quote, which I always get wrong, is Buckminster Fuller, and I'll give you a sort of overview. He was an architect, a futurist, an amazing philosopher, and he said that you cannot it's a bit like the Einstein quote, you can't solve a problem using the same thinking that created it. And he says that you can't change a system from the inside. You have to make the old system obsolete, and then you can start again. And that's kind of what we're doing, because if you were to
Yes.
look at government, parliament, lord of the manor, religion, there are rules and regulations, and you're damned if you're not going to follow them one way or the other. And we're
Yeah.
saying, let's let the people be grown-ups, let them do what they think is the right thing to do, and then the
Mhm.
rest of the community will support them or not in what they choose. And we just educating them as much as we possibly can to
Yep.
make good choices.
And we're at a pressure point, I think, in evolution, human evolution,
Yeah,
right, that we're coming up to, and we're seeing institutions crack,
yeah.
right? And it feels really scary, right?
Hmm.
Because we're at a very interesting place. And we have a choice. We can we can participate in creating a new model, or we can succumb to a crumbling old one.
Yeah.
Um, and there's probably a third path, but if there's a third path, I think this is the one, right? And there's um the third way if we want to explore the Buddhist, but
Yeah,
it's embracing that there is a more evolved model that can
yeah,
emerge and is emerging,
yeah,
right? And so I think it's exciting. It's exciting to be on that path with you. It's exciting to be in community with people who value it, even if we don't know exactly what it's going to look like, even if we
yeah,
don't know exactly how to do it. That's the work. That's the exciting, ether to be in and to do
yeah,
it together. And so
yeah.
I love the work that you're doing. I can't wait to read your books. Um, please listen to Jill's TED Talk, join her community at Collaboration Global. I can't wait to be more involved there. Um, and high five. I'm excited for the work.
Thanks, Melissa. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
It's been a joy talking to you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Me too.